Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey, welcome everybody to Bad to Business. I am your host, SHYNEN. Thanks for tuning in with me tonight. Happy Sunday, fun day to everybody. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, getting ready to start a new week. So let's go into this new week with a new perspective, a new state of mind. Again, let me introduce myself. My name is SHYNEN. Welcome to Bad to Business. Bad to Business, again, is bringing all diverse discussions to business. I talk about everything from politics and entertainment to what's going on in our community. And I take a lot of different discussions and see what we can bring to the table to business and see if there's some type of resolution or even some type of information we can give out to other people. So continue this journey with me, as I said on my first podcast. Today is a special one for me. I'm just getting back into town yesterday. It's been a long trip. If you can't see, I am representing LA. I just came back from home. I went to my father's home going, and it was, again, quite a trip from beginning to end. But I wanted to talk to you guys today about that journey and kind of share some things with y'all. And I hope you learn something and, be fed to go feed somebody else. If it ain't for you, maybe it's for somebody else. So one thing I wanted to say is that when my dad first passed, the first thing I asked God was, what's going on? He passed shortly before my mom's fourth year anniversary of passing. And that was a really hard hit. But God has his own plans. Me and my dad had our own plans. They just didn't mix. So that's okay. God is better at this than I am. So like I said, when my dad passed, the first thing I asked God was, what's going on? This was not supposed to be this way. I know I'm not necessarily questioning God, but it was more so like, okay, what next? Now I'm really looking for guidance. When my mom passed, kind of walked away, didn't really want to listen to anything, had to go my own way, get a different understanding. I did lean on my own understanding of feeling better. I needed to feel better immediately. And so I went on that, but I went to God and I told him, this hit differently. So I need to walk away a little bit. I need to do something else. And he allowed me that time. It was almost like I heard him say, okay, I get it. I understand. And so I walked away a little bit, did my own thing. And just, I guess when I say I walked away, I really didn't communicate with God too much, try to see what was really going on or look for comfort from him. I figured that if he could provide comfort, he wouldn't have taken it in the first place. That's where my mind was at that time. But he allowed me to walk away. He still covered me in everything I did. I still maintained a job, even though my mind wasn't really right. I still was able to raise my children, even though I wasn't in the perfect state of a mother. He covered me. He did what he needed to do. This time, however, when my dad passed, I told him I'm not walking away. I got to see what this means. Something is going on. So this time I'm upset, I'm hurt, but I'm gonna rock with you. This time I want to see what you got planned. I want to see what comes out of this. I think I wasted time with my mom's passing and not seeing what the message was, the blessing was, the lesson was. I wasn't sticking around for that. I didn't think that really had a purpose. But this time I wanted to see. I didn't want to waste any time. I told God, I'm upset, I'm hurt, but let me see what you got in store. Let me see what your plan could possibly be for this to happen at this time. Just starting a new podcast, starting a new chapter in my life, telling my dad about it. We talked about different things. He gave me different perspectives on a couple of things I'll be talking about in my show. So I thought that things were set. It was good, at least for the next couple of months or however timing goes. But didn't happen. So my dad passes. I asked God, okay, I'm sticking with you. What are we doing here? This time I want to see. I'm seeking you. I want to see your works. I'm listening for whatever word you have for me. I'm looking for whatever opportunity. And my request with him was a little funny this time because I said, I need you to show up. I need you to show up for me. I don't want you to talk through people. I don't want to see, just little gems. I need you to show up in a big, miraculous way. I got to see that this is the grand plan. This is what I wanted to see. And that way I would have known, okay, this is why I had to see it in a big way. This was my small request, if you will. And so when I started on that, okay, Lord, I'm mad, I'm hurt, but what are we doing? What are we doing here? The first response I got when I said, Lord, what do you want me to do now? He said, or it came to me and said, go, show up. I said, go, show up. That was it. And I remember saying, go where and show up for who? Because I'm asking for me. I'm asking you to show up for me. So go where? Show up for who? I didn't hear too much more than that. And as I'm coming to learn and respect and honor, understand that God's word is what it is. It's one of those, he said what he said. Go, show up. So I continue to ask, go and show up where? So I guess once it kind of settled in my spirit, it was kind of like, go where you're needed, show up how you need to. So kind of taking that into perspective, I was more aware of my surroundings, if you will. I got less angry with him. I tried to understand what that meant. So I didn't want to miss anything by being angry, by being so hurt. As my brother taught in a Bible study, don't let your purpose get in the way of your feelings. God doesn't care as much about your feelings as he cares about your purpose. So I didn't want my feelings to get so much in the way. So if he told me go, show up, let me see what that meant. What opportunities must you be allotting for me to go and show up for? So, again, I looked for those opportunities. And so when it was time to go home for this home going, I was very mindful and very watchful of what things would come up, what people I would run into again, going back home. It's got to be some comfortable opportunities. It's got to be something there. It's got to be this. So, okay, then let's do that. It's time to go home. I have an open mind about going to this home going. I'm not going to be too upset, too uptight. I don't want to have too much emotion, too many feelings, especially about flying, with everything going on with these airplanes. But let's see. But when I tell y'all this was a journey from beginning to end, I wish I could give you every detail, but some things are just meant for you to experience. Some things you're able to give a testimony on. And so I'm going to try to give y'all as much of the testimony as I can, and with a little bit of the experience. So I go home, and one of my first things I can say was a blessing for me is that, when I fly, I try not to do any layovers. I try not to do, a nonstop, and just so that I don't get any baggage issues and stuff like that. So, I know it's cheaper to do it whatever way, but I just try to get straight through. Well, this particular time, I was flying with my sister, and it was last minute, so we had to get what we could get. And one of the stops we were able to stop in was Denver, Colorado. And that's going. that happens to be one of the places that I've always wanted to go visit, live since I was a teenager. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, and immediately, we thank God for all things and all experiences. So when I was like, dang, I get to go to Denver, Colorado, see how it is, look at some things. I got a little stop there. I was like, well, thank you, God, for letting me experience that. That's kind of cool. So we get there, we have that layover. Um, it was Denver, Colorado is a big airport. We didn't know that at the time. But when we get there, the guy, somehow I booked my ticket to where I have wheelchair service. I'll say that. I don't believe in coincidences. I just believe in perfect timing, and that's all in God's plan too. So where I see this perfect timing and coincidences or whatever, I know that that's God in the midst. So we are in Denver, Colorado. This guy, it's a short layover, but we get to pass through, see some things, and we get to the gate. And the guy somehow, my sister passes me and she says, my name, SHYNEN, blase, blase. And the guy says, yeah, I have her. And he has me on this little name monitor thing. And I'm like, really? You have me? And he has my name on there. And he's like, okay, you guys need wheelchair service? Okay, well, definitely. Because one, this is our first time there. And two, we trying to hurry up and get to this next gate. And we got to use the bathroom, all these things. So he said, well, come on, sit down. I'll get you guys straight there. He takes us to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Shout out to Baram if you get to watch the show. Thank you very much for what you did. But he gets us on there and we go to the bathroom and he said, well, come on, because it looks like your plane is actually boarding now. Our layover somehow got cut short, whatever the case may be. He runs us through the airport. He gets us there. Of course, he knows it. And as my sister confirmed, we wouldn't have been able to get there without him, especially with his expeditious service he gave us. So that was a good experience. Like I said, I got to visit Denver and we had curbside service, if you will, where we needed it, right on time, as he is. So we go through Denver. Denver is our one stop before we get to LA. And so we're in LA. We start to experience things. We get there. It's the time for the wake. And it was a beautiful service. It was everything we could have expected, being the fact that it was on the other side of the world. And when I say that, we couldn't have too much of our hands in it. And that can sometimes give you some anxieties, not being in the know of some things when it comes to your family. But when you trust God, there's nothing that you really got to be worried about. Once our family accepted on this end that there was only so much we can do while things are being handled in California, we're here where we are, in a different state, we were able to kind of calm it down. So God was really good with that. So we get there. It was a beautiful service. I meet a lot of people. Um, it was really emotional. And one thing I asked God was, give me the strength to not just break down. I'm, again, not trying to let my feelings get in the way of my purpose, because me breaking down is going to make me angrier, make me feel things. I don't want to do those things, right? So I get there and I'm kind of able to withstand. And I have this thing where, see, the last time I saw my dad, he was laughing and smiling and breathing. And that's the way I wanted to remember him. Um, and I didn't want to see him in any other form. Same way I felt about my mom. I don't want to see them. I don't want my last memory of them to be, or anyone to be, where I don't see them at their happiest or at their best condition or mint condition, whatever. Just, I can't see a nothing. So I didn't want to be emotional. And for the most part, God was able to hold me together as much as possible. Um, but I did feel the emotion of anger coming over again, because now, of course, I'm dealing with the reality of, it's one thing to kind of expect one thing, but it's another thing to be there dealing with it. So it was a little hard, But I do know that God was in the midst. He showed up. I met some really good people, good comforting things, and I got to see that things were under control. Again, this is at the wake, so this is a day before we prepare for the finale, if you will, the homegoing service. Actually, so again, I get there, get everything under control, and the next day. So we get there. I know I'm missing some of the experiences and stuff. I got in there from renting the car and how it seemed like things weren't going to work out, and how somehow I wasn't able to find my boarding pass at the time the guy needed it for the rental car, and he wasn't going to rent it to me. And then he said, you know what? All types of things were going on that actually opened the doors open. Those are little things. But like I said, I'll try to share as many testimonies and experiences with you in this little time I have as possible. But so we did the wake. Now we're preparing for the homegoing. I get to see a little bit of my family, see my sisters. I love you all. Thank you all for your support and everything that you do and we do for each other. God is just really in the midst of this. So the next day, we head there and we go to the service, and there were, I'd have to honestly say, more people there than I thought there would be. I didn't know that my dad meant so much to other people as he did to me. And I will tell y'all that that was a sign to me from God. Again, nothing that anyone else could have done for me, shown me, told me, was how much my dad meant to other people. So being able to be there, and I see that these people showed up for him, friends and coworkers, that was a blessing. That was, again, to say the least, so comforting to see that. I was amazed. Because I didn't know the other end. Again, my dad, he worked in California while he lived in Atlanta, Georgia. So two separate lifestyles, I can say. So these people that he knew on the outskirts were strangers to me. But anyway, it was comforting. And then out of the blue, I was asked to do his eulogy. I was not asked prior to do it. But in the program, it had my name to do so, as though it was already planned for me to do so. So I said, okay, well, I have no problem. His sister asked me to do it. I said, I have no problem with that. And she said, well, if you feel uncomfortable, we can go ahead and get somebody else to. I said, no, I feel very comfortable and I feel very honored to do so. And thank you for including me anyway, because I know, again, they had things handled over there, but they somehow included me in that. So I said, well, I thought that I was just, sitting to enjoy the homegoing, but let me go get my reading glasses, go do what I need to do. So I went outside and I told God, okay, this is where you show up, right? Because I was barely prepared to read the poem that I had prepared to read, dealing with my emotions, not wanting to cry. So you opening the door to an opportunity for me to read this eulogy, this is big, right? This is big. So you must be here in the midst of this. I can't say no. So I said, one thing that I've been praying for is the confidence to speak more and do more, especially with starting a new podcast. It is a dream of mine come true. One of the reasons why is because, and always talking to my friends and family, I can talk about anything and everything, so being able to just be more comfortable with speaking to any and everybody at that point is a challenge for me. But so I've been asking God to show up there. So he knows that I've been asking for the blessing, the confidence, the strength for him to show up in my life on this podcast as well. So I said, okay, so you're giving me this opportunity to speak at this eulogy. I'm definitely going to um, do what I can do. Okay, here's the opportunity. This is what we're doing. Um, but I also saw it as an opportunity to read that poem without crying. I said, well, if I got to read this eulogy, right, I'm just going to read these words. Hey, sis, I'm just going to read these words. I'm just going to, and then I'm going to go straight into the poem. So, cool. You planned this well. Again, your plan, not mine. You planned this well. I got up there and I read the eulogy. And it was so short because, it's on a program. And it was so short to describe the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I felt compelled to speak to a room full of strangers. Excuse me. That I didn't know. And I asked God to be with me. And He was. I was so comfortable with doing this. And what I said was, I know that this is short for the program. I know this is how this goes. But my dad was so much more than what these short paragraphs say. And being able to explain to these people who my dad was and what he meant to me and my family, how he was a hero and how he showed up for different things. And, again, how he just showed up. It was a blessing to not only be able to tell people, but to be so comfortable with doing so. That confidence I felt with doing something so righteous in my heart, it was a newfound thing for me. So after saying that, after doing the speech, now it's time to read my poem, which always brought me to tears when I got ready to read it. And I was able to read it without a teardrop. What I saw was that it needed to be said. The words in it meant so much as far as just healing. I won't go into it. Like I said, some things are a testimony and some things are an experience. And it was definitely just an experience for those who were there. But the poem meant so much and the words meant so much to healing and being able to move forward and being able to let God do what He do, that it needed to be said. And then that led right into being comfortable. So I will say that right there, that experience was God showing up for me. When I walked outside and I told Him, this must be where you show up, He definitely did. And that's one thing that I wanted to really talk about on this show today was, when you ask God to show up. And He actually does. What an experience, how great it is. And so you don't give up on calling on Him, doing things like that. So that was great. We did that. My dad was laid with my mom, how they planned things to go. They married each other and then they went with each other. So that's how that went. And it, again, was a beautiful service. Everything just went the way it was supposed to. I got to see one of my uncles that I hadn't been able to talk to in a couple of years due to some family conflict between he and I. I had it in my mind before I went to California that I wanted to talk to him. Didn't know how, but I kind of wanted to end whatever conflict, whether this was the time to do it or not. I just didn't want to leave there with things unsettled. It's been so many times I've gone back home and left with things unsettled and brought it back with me. So, side note, this was one of those journeys or trips that I said, you know what, this time when I go, I'm going to leave some stuff there. Some things, it seems like every time I go and something bad happens at home, I bring it back with me. And there's really nothing I can do with it in a different state. And the people that I've taken it from, the baggage and everything else, they're not dealing with it. They're not carrying it, but I've brought it with me to carry with my children and my family to not be as happy as I can be because I'm carrying some luggage that I should have left at at the least at LAX. But no, I brought it. So this time I wanted to leave it. Um, I never saw the right time to really talk to my uncle, but God did, as he does. God did. Um, so I got to talk to my uncle. We got to resolve some things, and we realized that we really just misunderstood each other. We came to a mutual understanding that he could have handled some things differently and said some different words as I could have. And we realized how important it is to just really talk. Again, bring your diverse discussions to business. It doesn't have to stay in conflict. Sometimes you'll be in conflict for so long with such an easy resolution. It's not worth your time, the time we don't have or the time we don't know if we have. So getting to talk to my uncle was a whole blessing because it's been some years, and the love that we got to exchange and reciprocate and the understanding that we came to. He's a really funny man, a musician as well. So we got to talk about a lot of different things, and it was wonderful. It was everything I needed it to be. Um, so I left there in peace with that. So again, God showing up where I didn't expect him to, but I asked him to. Wherever, show up. And he did. Um, so I get to do that, and I get to finalize the. All right, when I say these, I get to do, it means what I was able to do with finding peace in my spirit. I get to finalize my mom and my dad. I remember when they sealed the things, I said, it is finished. I was able to say that. For people who know me, they know that I do honor my mom and my dad a lot. And even in their passing, I do. And there's some things that, as I've talked to my siblings about, may hold a bondage over me, not completely letting go. One of the things that I learned with at my dad's passing is when he was still alive, I held to him a standard of still being my mother's husband. So as long as he was my mother's husband, there was still an existence of my mom. But letting him go was like a double whammy to me, because it was like, or I'm sorry, giving him back was like a double whammy to me, because it was like, now it is finished. The marriage is what it is. It's y'all two now, and I have nothing to do with that. No communication, can't celebrate any anniversaries with you, things like that. So that in itself was something to deal with. um, so I had to leave that there. um, and being able to talk to my uncle, and that baggage that was so heavy that I even when I didn't talk to him when I went back to California, I still had that feeling of, I can't go visit my uncle who's there because I don't really talk to him. I got to leave that alone. I got to leave that wherever it lied dead. I got to leave it dormant and not continue to travel with it, not continue to bring it with me in my life. That was great for me. Um, and then, you know, I get to I got to spend some time with my family. I got to see some people that I haven't seen in a while. I didn't get to see my best friend. Shout out to Jeannie. I wish I had saw you, baby girl, but next time. One thing my sister reminded me of is that this wasn't that kind of trip. You know, I I wish we could have done more, seen more, visited more people, but we did what was necessary to replenish our spirit at this time. And sometimes you got to realize you do what's necessary to replenish you. You don't try to overdo it. Don't get overstuffed. Don't be a glutton. Just do what's necessary to replenish your spirit, and was definitely able to do that. So um got to see some family, talk to some people, get some good information. Again, some things I'll be sharing with you guys in further podcasts. It's always good to talk to people, bring some diverse discussions into this thing, and be able to talk to you guys about some things I've learned, um, some things we get to talk about. I can't wait. Can't wait to see your opinions on some things. So stick with me. But anyway, so now it's time to come back home. And I got to spend the last evenings with my sisters and what I call my safety sister circle. it was awesome and amazing to be around such comforting and loving women. Um, of course, you can call a lot of women your sisters who are like that, but these were women who were like that and really my blood sisters. I love y'all. And one of my sisters I got to talk to about this. So this is something that came on my heart. So when I talk about go and show up, I was talking to her and I said, when one of your friends calls you and says, hey, girl, let's go out. Let's go on this trip. I want to go to Jamaica. And you're like, okay, yeah, definitely. I want to go. You get to call in the travel agent. You get to saving money. Get to go in shopping. I definitely want to go. You prepare to go on this trip to Jamaica, Bahamas, wherever you're going to go. You prepare to go on this trip. And you go, you have fun, you have experiences, you have memories. Great. You had a great time. But what about when God calls you to go somewhere, to go on a trip, to go on a journey? Do you start to prepare yourself? Do you answer him and say, God, yes, I'll go. That sounds like that's what I need to do. I feel it. That's what I'm going to do. Or do we hesitate? Do we, you know, do we tell him all the reasons why we can't? I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. I don't have these things to do what you're calling me to do, the trip you want me to go on, the journey. I don't have the courage, the experience like Moses. I don't have everything you want me to do to be able to do this. And that was something that I really had to ponder on, how quickly we are to jump to a person for a fun trip or for something that feels good or something that's going to seem great for an experience. And then when God calls us to go and show up, we hesitate. We're not looking for what experiences we can get out of it, what memories and all those things. And, with one thing I've learned with God is that, with your friends, it may be all expenses paid. But with God, it's like all equipped and slayed. Everything you need will be already there. God shouldn't have to reassure you for that. If God's calling you to go somewhere, he's already there. He's already prepared for your words, your strength, your encouragement, the people you need to be there, the people to rush you through the airport, those things. He's already prepared those things for you. With your friend, she's telling you y'all got to get some stuff together, but with God, he's telling you I got it all together. He's already there. If he's asking you to go somewhere, he's already there. It's kind of like meet me there. You don't even have to beat him there. You can meet him there. And that's what I learned in this journey. When I asked God to show up, and I've been asking him ever since my dad passed, what do you want me to do? How does this work? Where are you? I need you to show me something in a major way. This time it's got to be you. It can't be somebody saying it's going to be okay and God said this, and it can't be like that this time. This time I need to see you show up in ways that only you can. Comfort me in ways that only you can. Speak to me in ways that only you know how to speak to me. He did. He did. And I can tell he's still cooking. He's definitely still cooking. He let me know that he's not done showing me those things. There are some things that he still needs me to do. One thing he told to me, or the words came to me, the feelings came to me, is that, Shannon, you want me to do some things, but I can't move until you move some ways. So me telling him I need you to show up, I need you to do some things with my arms crossed ain't gonna work. I got to be open. So when I say I need you to do this, I'm looking for big blessings. I'm looking for miracles. I'm looking for you to show up in big ways. So when he say, okay, go show up, and I'm like, go where? Show up where? You go where the opportunity calls you. You show up in the ways that you want me to show up too. Please remember, to whom much is given, much is required. So you looking for big blessings, you gotta show up in big ways too. So that's what I'm looking at. My friends, not yet. We ain't planning no trips to the Bahamas and Jamaica and stuff, but God has already called me to go and show up. And I don't know where, I don't know how, but best believe wherever the opportunity calls me to, I'm showing up. I'm going because I expect him to be there already. He wouldn't tell me to go and show up if he wasn't there. He wouldn't give me an assignment if I wasn't already ready for it, or it wasn't already equipped and slayed. I ask God to continue to be in my life, and for things that I know life isn't going to be easy, but for the things that I have to do, please allow me to do it with ease, because that's what he wants me to do. So he's been showing up like that. He's been doing that, just in these last couple of weeks, and I'm so grateful. And one thing I try to remember, and I want y'all to remember, is he doesn't call the unequipped. He equips the ones he calls. So if he call you, man, you got to pick up that phone the same way you would to go to the party, or go to the club, go to the Bahamas, go on a trip. Y'all make sure that you show up for God the same way y'all want him to show up for you. And like I said, he's still showing up for me in ways that I've asked him that only he can. Um, it's those answered prayers in those. uh, I'm sorry, those answered prayers and those whispered things I've asked him for that nobody knows about, and I'm seeing him answer those things for me. So I really hope that y'all do what's necessary. Show up for God. Do what he's asking you to do. Um, you can't ask for God to do something for you and you're not really doing it for him. If you want him to show up big for you, you got to show up for him too. So today I just wanted to share with you guys about how I've been asking God to show up for me. And he basically asked me the same thing, to show up for him. So I'm here today. I'm on this new journey, Bad to Business. I am your host, SHYNEN. Call in if you like what's going on. Listen in. Be watching for me throughout the days, throughout the weeks. I got some good things coming up, and I hope that you guys can join in and talk to me a little bit. If you're looking to be a guest on my show, please DM me, message me. I'll put some more ways out there to get in contact with me, but this is going to be a great thing. So, like I said, please stay with me. Bad to Business, bringing all diverse discussions to business. And today what we brought to business is, when you asking God to show up, don't be surprised if he asks you to show up too. If you don't answer his call, don't be surprised